Could you give an example of someone who's really healed from, this dysfunctional relationship to eating and food, or
Yeah.
you don't have to name names, but maybe just a little bit about their process
Hmm.
of.
Oh gosh. Okay. I have so many. I can just tell one story. Um, so one of my clients was, um, she was going out to Sonic all the time. Sonic is you don't have Sonic in Ireland probably, but
I know what Sonic
yeah,
is.
right. You know
Yeah,
about
like
Sonic.
fast food.
Yeah.
Yeah, fast food.
And, my coaching partner was working with her and saying like, okay, eat some salads and do this and do that. And, like, don't eat the fast food, eat salads. And she wasn't doing anything. Like, she was not following any of the recommendations. So I got on, a session with her and I said, so what's going on? Why? What's happening? And she said, it just feels really hard. It feels really hard to do this. And I said, okay, let's take a look at that feeling. See, here we are at the emotions, right? It feels hard, the struggle. All right, so what is your earliest memory of that? And where we got to was this little girl who grew up in Texas in the 1970s, 60s actually, sitting at a meal table, she and her sister with her parents. And what mom was serving for dinner was burnt meat, canned vegetables, and liver. It was disgusting. And she didn't want to eat it, 7 years old, right? So she's sitting there crying. This is her memory. And her mother made her sit at the table until she ate everything, even if it meant she sat there until 11 o'clock at night. And the whole time her mother is talking to her, she's saying, eat it, it's good for you. Eat it, it's good for you. Eat it, it's good for you. And I said to this client, do you understand that as a child, you associated healthy eating with torture and foods that taste horrible? And we did some tapping on that. And we went back in this, sort of deeper level of work where she, as an adult, could go back to that little girl and say to that little girl, hey, look, you know what? This isn't good food. Let's get out of here. Let's go play in a garden where you can actually eat some greens. And she had this huge, like, okay, she could let it all go. She could forgive it. It was gone. And then she wrote to me and said, okay, I just made a chicken breast with some sauteed greens and it was actually really good. And she said, okay, that's a start. And it's like, well, no wonder you want to go to Sonic after, like, if this is your idea of healthy food, right? So a lot of my clients have those kinds of associative memories of, like, sitting at the table and, eat like a lady, whatever that means, right? Or, another one of my clients, she was binging on late night chips. And what really came up for her was, like, she still had a lot of guilt because when she was a little girl, her mother tried to commit suicide and she thought it was her fault. So she had internalized all this guilt and then was eating to kind of, keep the guilt down. So this is where it takes courage to heal, because we popped the lid on that and went back to her, went back to that memory of where she first started to feel guilty because of her mother not being well. And going back to that little one and saying, you know what, listen, this isn't your fault, see? It's not your fault. And again, once that really energetically re-imprinted and she got it, she could say, she just threw the chips out. And now she's got sprouts growing all over her kitchen. And, and by the way, she's lost 21 pounds in 4 months. Like, so I really get this privilege of, like, seeing this happen pretty regularly.